2022年12月22日にアップされたマウリース・フェルナンデス先生の動画です。それではどうぞ。
Well, that's it. 2022 is out. And we're looking ahead at 2023 already. Exciting new cycles. I'm going to speak about the important ingresses of Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn in Pisces, and Jupiter going through its own rapid cycle through Aries. It's also the year of the rabbit from a Chinese astrology point of view. And today is the solstice, a very powerful solstice with Jupiter just moving at 0 Aries, with the Sun at 0 Capricorn and Ceres at 0 Libra. So you see this very, very strong, powerful energy at the cardinal points, really signifying that this is a time to take destiny into your own hands. It's a message of empowerment. It's a message of creativity. And we see today, Ukraine President Zelensky is in Washington, strengthening the alliance, making new deal to fortify the Ukraine. And you see this demonstration of power right on this solstice point, right as Jupiter is at 0 Aries. So it really captures this energy and wanting to assert, affirm presence, dominance, and power. So I think this is something all of us can feel. It's a time for new starts, and it's a time to really not wait, enough of the stagnation. Think about the fact that Mars, which has been retrograde for several weeks, will soon turn direct in Gemini. And Mars is important because it rules Jupiter in Aries. So as Jupiter moves into Aries and Mars goes direct, you're going to have this incredible release of energy and courage, creativity, entrepreneurship, wanting to start new projects, to take your life to the next level. So before we dive into the next year, I wanted to touch on some of the programs I will be leading this year, starting with the Evolutionary Astrology Diploma program. This is a really comprehensive program that includes understanding the soul journey. So natal chart, understanding past lives, but then also covering everything else, whether it's predictive techniques, whether it's health, whether it's locational astrology. So it really goes from A to Z and prepares you for mastery. Most astrologers struggle bringing all the pieces together, being able to synthesize a chart. So this program includes both practice and theory. And the incentive to sign up now is that prices will go up early 2023 as a new cycle begins. So you can now join at the old price, the pre-inflation price, and benefit from all that will be offered in the new cycle on top of what the current cycle is receiving. So you're able to basically enjoy both worlds. Look at my website, all the details are there. If we speak about New Year resolution, why not commit to bring star knowledge, to be yourself a messenger, to be yourself an instrument of enlightenment for this era, as astrology is only growing in influence and significance for us. I will also be touring different parts of the world teaching. I'll be in South Africa end of January and February, Cape Town, Johannesburg. I will be in Holland in March, and I will be in Australia in August. Then there is a program, online program for Japan in October. Again, on my website, see the calendar of events. Most exciting, I will be leading this conference at Omega Institute, upstate New York. It's a small faculty, but really good speakers, leading figures in our fields, Lynn Bell, Rick Levine. And this happens June 30th to July 2nd. This is just before Independence Day in the United States. So it's an opportunity to celebrate astrology in the summer. In Omega is a retreat style. It's in the forest, amazingly beautiful. And that's where all the spiritual luminaries have been teaching, from Eckhart Tolle and the Dalai Lama. So we're really excited to have more astrology there. I hope you can make it. And I will also be teaching, in different places. Just look at my website, mauricefernandez.com. So before we continue and further analyze this solstice chart. So the solstice chart is really important because it sets the tone for the next season, at least until March. So when we see this really entrepreneurial energy, creative energy, it's not just today. It's not only for, this week, but it's going to be for the whole season. And Mars, as we said, turning direct will bring that spark to a flame and really make things really significant. Before we move forward into the new year, I want to recap just briefly 2022 so we can build on it. So this is a brief review of the news cycle of 2022 and how it affected the economy. So if we speak about a contraction now, and if we speak about addressing financial matters with the North Node in Taurus and the ruler in Capricorn retrograde, there will definitely be corrective measures. These corrective measures to counterbalance inflation bubbles can be measures that are implemented willingly as an act of choice, as a conscious decision to mitigate the excesses. Or it can be, again, a shocking bubble burst, a crash, financial crash of sorts. And it seems like the timing for that is not too far ahead. I'm looking at the end of February and the beginning of March with very, very dramatic alignments. As I mentioned, Venus, Mars, Pluto will all be in the sign of Capricorn. But as they move into Capricorn, they reach that critical degree, 27 degrees Capricorn, which happens to be a Mars exaltation degree. So Mars is very strong on the 27 degree of Capricorn, and Mars has to do with action, aggression, confrontation. And so it has to do with doing something about a situation. It has to do with dominance. And since it is in Capricorn, it definitely will involve, leaders and political parties locally, nationally, in each country, and internationally between countries. So this climaxes at the new moon, early March. This is basically happening March 3rd, 2022. There's a new moon conjunct Jupiter and Neptune not too far. And there's this triple conjunction in Capricorn. So Mars and Venus represent in themselves the need for balance, the need to find an equilibrium between change and stability, between us and others, trade, prices, everything that has to do with value and cost, the cost of living, relates to Venus and Mars as well as Pluto. So we can expect that by the end of February and into the early weeks of March, that some important decisions will be made regarding the economy. Or again, if they're not made consciously, there could be events that trigger, that force and compel government to make those decisions. It could be either the beginning or the actual activation of a bubble burst financially. So there could be a feeling that things are not sustainable anymore, that interest rates are going to rise, and that the printing of money will be curbed. So, that's how important astrology can be to better understand what's ahead. We are still in that same wave. We are still under these influences, at least in the first part of the year. So when we look at 2023, some of the activations, Mars is going to turn direct. It's at the 8th degree of Gemini, which is very close to the fixed star Aldebaran. It's a royal star related to the rising of the East, and it has to do with definitely power, leadership, and might. On the other hand, the 8th Gemini is also a very critical degree because it represents the cycle of Pluto and Neptune, the last conjunction of Pluto-Neptune, whereas at 8 Gemini, and that's a 500-year cycle, which we're still under. So when Mars, triggers that degree, it has a worldwide effect. Whether it brings new alliances, new projects, or whether it changes dynamics on a more global level. Mars turning direct is also the release of a lot of energy that has been stored internally. During the retrograde cycle, people have been questioning their everything, their relationships, their vocation. What am I going to do with my life? Am I on the right track? So when Mars turns direct, it's an opportunity to move forward with your new realizations. So building on the solstice energy that is already incredibly creative and sets the tone for dominance, growth, empowerment. As Mars goes direct, it releases that. The only thing is that Mars going direct also releases a lot of aggression. Many wars begin after Mars goes direct because of that accumulation effect and then release. So if things have not been resolved, if there hasn't been proper dialogues, if people haven't figured out where they're stuck, the frustration is then released outside and it can lead to aggression. So we have to, it's a volatile time again. But if it's used constructively, then it's that massive wave that lifts you up and forward, and something you can ride with a lot of enthusiasm, ideas, and motivation. Jupiter is in Aries, as we just mentioned, and it's going to go particularly fast because Jupiter is close to the Earth now, so it moves faster. And it will race through Aries from now until May 15, after which it's in Taurus. So we have a shift of Jupiter for the first 5 months of the year in Aries, and Jupiter then moves into Taurus, the first half of the sign, 0 to 15 degrees. And that will be a major turning point for the economy, which I will talk about a little further. The planet Saturn completes a 2-year cycle in Aquarius, moves into Pisces, the 0 to 7 degrees this year. So if you're born, if your sun is early Pisces, if you're born between the end of February, early March, or end of August, early September, that Saturn will be a turning point in your life, catalyst for change. Pluto in Aquarius just edging on the 0 degree, but we'll see why it's a game changer. In the summer, the nodal axis completes this Taurus-Scorpio journey, where all we've been talking about was the economy, Scorpio-Taurus. Prior to that, it was in Gemini, Sagittarius, and we were talking about racism and multiculturalism and the need to open up to immigration. So all these themes about the nodes really grab our attention. So moving now into Aries Libra, it is a time of relationships, alliances. If we ever speak about the option for peace and resolution, it could happen during this nodal shift. More on that coming up. Another thing I want to bring to your attention, during 2022, all the retrograde cycles of Mercury were in air signs. How do we measure that? By the conjunction of Mercury to the Sun. So 2022, it was in Aquarius, 0 Gemini, 0 Libra. The next one in January is going to be Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. So all the retrogrades of Mercury will be Earth. This will also shift to a more conservative approach because Mercury represents our management, represents how we handle things. When it was in air signs, the dialogue was all about alliances, groups. We were talking about NATO, about the Soviet Union, who's on whose side, and how new alliances were created. Old alliances were broken. And air has to do with who you're bonding with, who are you going to join forces with. So that was a lot of what happened on a global level and on a personal level. It's more social. Now it moves into an Earth cycle for a whole year, along with, we remember that Jupiter is going to be in Taurus as well. So when there's a lot of action in Earth, we tend to be more conservative. We tend to be more cautious with our resources, more mature as well. So it's a time there's more grounding. Things will, there's going to be an aim to further stabilize our lives, to get a grip and not let things get out of hand. It's practical, and it has to do with more caution in general. That also ties into the Chinese New Year of the Rabbit. The previous year, 2022, was a year of the tiger. And the tiger years are aggressive years. I mean, there's more power struggles, more creativity, everything that a big cat will bring. And so it's not surprising that, the war between the Ukraine and Russia broke right after the new tiger year, because the tiger year has to do with dominance and who's going to be on top, basically. And it has an edge, aggression. Whereas the rabbit years are tamed. They're more peaceful. They're more about abundance. So it also represents more of that earthiness that the Mercury cycle brings. Let's not get carried away. Let's be more grounded, as rabbits will dig holes. At least that's part of the Chinese understanding and meanings for this sign. It's a water rabbit on top of it, so we've had a water tiger, and we know how wet this year has been, 2022. Jupiter, Neptune were in Pisces, so there was a lot of flooding. Talk to the Australian, talk to the South African, and everywhere.
パート2ではゼレンスキー、プーチン、バイデン、魚座土星のチャンスのつかみ方やウクライナ情勢と世界のリーダーがどう変わるかについてマウリース先生が解説しています。それでは最後までご視聴ありがとうございました。